Hey all, this is a walkthrough of the filter, which is 12 filter banks that have variable frequency control and have sequencer functions for controlling the volume of each of the filters. So we're just going to dive into making some sounds and I'll walk you through it. So we'll start with a simple synth pad that is sustained and has kind of like an endless loop to it so that it doesn't have too much variation in spectrally what's going on. So first we're just going to listen to the filters themselves without a sequence, and these are just volumes, turning them on and off. And as you can hear, there's a little bit of delay and reverb in the signal, and it's coming from the filter going to the aux end. We have the cue size, which is when it's completely down like this, it's completely flat and sums to the original signal, which makes it a very high quality filter bank, which is also part of its CPU usage. But it makes it able to go from a completely clean signal to a affected or processed signal seamlessly, which is a huge benefit. So when we up the cue size, it narrows each filter bank and they become more resonant. So we get to pretty much almost feedback and more of a pitched sound. We can use a slope. We can give a little curve to them. And then right below that is the frequency representation of this, so it just gives you a quick idea in the spectrum kind of where each of these frequencies are residing. So moving on, the stereo mono, this function actually splits, as you can hear, each filter bank left and right and staggers them. So it gives this widening and spreading sound. And you flip it the other way to alternate the left-right. And it just has this variation of just kind of some panning that can happen. So let's get on to the fun stuff. So there's a built-in sequencer here for triggering the filters on and off with this envelope. So let's just take them all. So we're selecting all of them, and we're just going to put in a simple pattern. So right now this is just set to the filter just being open and controlled without the sequence. So now we're going to add the sequence. And as you can see and hear, the frequencies can vary in volume depending on the slope and the cue size and all of these fun things. And so this is built in to really kind of help with balancing and controlling it a little more. It's a drive saturation, but it also has a compressor element to it, and kind of at an end stage there is also a limiter as well, so that you'll never really get any massive peaking explosions from any of these cue filters getting too extreme. When the drive is engaged, you're actually able to use this tonal knob, but it's in the saturation circuit, so this tone knob doesn't work if you don't have the drive activated. This pull is a way of kind of auto compensation, and so what ends up happening is it works on trying to give you a little more compression and less saturation in the negative dial. In the positive dial, it gives you more saturation as well, so it really pushes it. So this is just a ADSR of attack and decay. So this duration is kind of set up already that, as you can hear, it's the full duration until the next trigger. And so this is 2 quarter notes and a half note. So that's the way that the default is at 1. This just turns it into 16th notes. And then turning the dial back to 1 blends it back into the full duration from one trigger to the next. And so the decay is when it's set at 0.5, it's linear, and then either way it goes exponential. And then the attack is linear and then goes exponential. And right here is random trigger, so it just does a probability of whether it's going to even turn on or not. The velocity operates that the higher it goes, the more it will go to quiet, to 0. So if you keep it fairly low, it will just go between, just say velocity is 0 to 127, it's going to go from right here set to 127 to like 100. And as the dial increases, the variation goes between the 127 and closer to 0. Right, so we have that, and then we can do presets. So as far as patterns, so right here it's just you're able to have 4 bars. And so we can create another pattern and set this to every other bar. So this is the data entry, and this is the playback. The blue is what is going to be played. So this time delay is able to take the sequence through the Ableton, and if you want to delay the signal at all, you're able to stagger the audio that's coming in. This helps sometimes when you have, you have these MIDI clips or audio samples, and the attack time or the attack in the beginning might be a little harsh, and you might actually find that you're getting clicks. And it's just coming from the audio. It's not coming from the sequencer at all. And so a nice way to just kind of smooth that out is either controlling with attack, or you can just delay the time a little bit and offset that. This is just a simple low pass. It just turns down all of the frequencies. So the input can be used just simply to control the input of the signal into the plugin, but it also is helpful for the saturator in creating a little more compression and less saturation. So then it comes over into the way to input your different filter frequencies. It's super simple to just type in whatever frequencies you want. You kind of want to do it that way. I think that trying to work fast and smoothly, these setups really help. So there's the stock frequency range that's already set up right here. And then we can go to variable, which sets a high and low to the filter bank. And then you can add a curve to all of those frequencies, and also use the shift to move all of them up or down. And which makes the display really helpful to see where all of these filters are in the spectrum. So this is an LFO, and this is assignable to these 3 different parameters. And the noise dial adds randomness to each of the filter frequencies so that they aren't so uniform in their mathematical distribution through the spectrum of the low to high frequencies that you've set. So moving on, so formants. These are vowel type frequencies. Typically they are just 3 bands. And you can see right here that these are just activated. Everything else is non-applicable. And then you can go to 2 times and 3 times. And what that does is it takes the octave higher for each. So it is reproducing the 3 bands twice over an octave higher. Subharmonic takes the second and third band repeats, but does them octaves lower. And then the interlaced is alternating between a frequency higher and a frequency lower. The stretch can narrow these and expand the duplicated octaves. And so there is a sequencer, and you can trigger randomly any order of vowels that you'd like, or you can set them yourself. Then you have to add the triggers for when they're going to go through these. So sometimes it gets a little complicated, and let's just make it a little simpler so you're able to hear. So you can change these to any of them. And very similar, you have the harmonic, and it has the same type of sequence. This is just actually pitched, so it's reproducing all of these frequencies in the harmonic series. So it's a really strong way to create actual notes. And this has the same type of sequencer built into it. And there's a slide function so that you're able to slide through notes as opposed to just having a stronger attack of all that. Okay, so we have the sequencer and we have all of these different things. Now we can also use MIDI for this. So let me just get back to more of a simple filter. And so we have this sequence that's being played. And now we can go to MIDI. Right here, this is going to be your root note of the start of these. I have an OP1. That's triggering these notes. So you can either do a chromatic or whole tone, so that you can whole notes, so you can just use all the white keys. So I can use my keyboard and open all these. And there's also attack and release. And so another way we can control these is to use MIDI clips. How this works is you have a MIDI clip and you send it to the channel that you want to go to. And then it depends, since this is a MIDI instrument, we don't want to send it to that pad, we want to send it to the filter. So we have to assign that, and then that's all set. And set this to chromatic. So we'll set this to C2, which is the beginning of the clip, MIDI clip, and all of these represent, each note represents each of the filter banks. So with these MIDI clips, we're triggering each of the different frequencies, different filter banks. But we can also go into, there's 4 different layers that we can do that are added on top of the different frequencies. So what we can do is we have layer 1, and this is going to trigger certain filter banks. And they're color-coded so that you're able to differentiate them when they're kind of all together. Now we can go to a MIDI clip here and see that these long notes are triggering the different layers. So when you have a group of filter banks set to one of these individual layers, you're able to trigger each layer just with one note via either the MIDI clip or the keyboard, which makes it super musical and really easy to access multiple banks at once. So now we have the MIDI clip and the sequencer, and we can toggle between either one, as you can hear. But then we can also use the both slider to blend each of these together into one. Coupled with that, we can also use the keyboard and trigger even more notes. So there's countless ways to be able to trigger these filter banks. So that's like probably 90% of what the plugin can do, and you can read the manual for some of the other subtleties, but I hope you enjoy it, find some really interesting ways to use it, and have a lot of fun. Thanks a lot. Take care.